Electric Fire Chapter 20, I Am All of Me.
When I said Sonic was put through the same thing, I don't mean the same tests, but we were in the same situation, stuck and being used for research. Mainly he was. I was more observed for my powers and abilities. Sonic was a fighter in this case. He didn't want to follow what anyone told him. I followed the orders. I figured I was already on their bad side for fighting someone. Along with existing, might as well try not to be put in isolation again. At this point, it would have been better if I were put back in isolation. I felt bad for Sonic. I have never seen him so miserable. It wasn't like he had done anything that caused any harm, but neither did I, aside from biting somebody just trying to protect a friend. Sure, I could have been enemies with Sonic, but there wasn't a reason for it. Back when we first met though, I have led drones to his home. But it was a complete accident. He could have attacked me along with the drones, but he didn't. I guess we both just needed a friend. A friend with almost the same abilities, and a friend that was also a hedgehog. Alright, losing track here. Back to gun. We spent about 4 days in that lab. Okay, more since I had been unconscious for 3 days, so probably about 6 days. We weren't exactly keeping track. There wasn't a calendar anywhere near us, so it could have been longer. There was a clock from where Sonic was though. He could easily see it, but it was exactly where I could see it. We were across from one another in a glass tanks. They were almost for some kind of display case. That's the best way I could describe them. Behind me though was cold steel, but all around me was glass. Same for the one Sonic was in. The first time, when I awoke in that lab, well, I panicked. After seeing where I was, then my mind turned to Sonic. I was curious on whatever happened to him, so I looked around a bit only to find him across from where I was. He was alive at least, and well, he didn't seem to have went through any dissection stuff, so that was a relief on my part. Though he had some bandages over his arms, probably from injection needles. He was leaning against the glass, tired, almost as though he hadn't gotten any sleep in a while. I had been left alone though it seemed. I didn't feel like anyone ran any tests on me while I was out, though I wondered why I hadn't been put back into isolation. Perhaps the commander was afraid I'd be let out again. Maybe he was planning on killing me and Sonic just to make sure no one would come for us. Or maybe he had bigger plans, something darker. My thoughts were pushed aside as a door opened to the lab we were in. I heard people talking. One was definitely the commander. The other was most likely an agent.
We got the Blue Hedgehog's results back from the lab. It was quite a struggle, but we managed to get him to cooperate. Well, we had to keep him down in order to get a few blood samples.
I felt my heart drop when I heard them talk about Sonic. Looking back at him again, I could tell he didn't have much energy. He was possibly dehydrated and along with very starving. He gazed back at me. While I looked at him, he tried to hide the bandages and show a smile, trying to play it off as cool as though nothing had occurred. But I knew he was pretending. He was scared. So was I. I was more focused on Sonic that I didn't hear any of the words the two said, but the footsteps made me look away from Sonic since the two were heading towards us. There wasn't anything I could do. Sure, I wanted to break free, but if I did, I'd have to break Sonic out. I'd risk getting shot at. Also, Sonic isn't like me. If he got shot, he could die. I was created to be immortal. My heal rate is quicker than others. But that doesn't help the fact that I wasn't able to save Maria. I got a second chance, it seems, though I have a new friend. And I do not want to lose him like I have lost her. The two stopped in front of me. Both had their gaze on me.
Are you sure Shadow's the one that the agent?
The commander spoke to the scientist. I didn't recognize the guy he was with. He had a lab coat on along with some protective gloss over his face. He also had a name tag on, Dr. Larry Grayson. What was written on the tag? His face was shaven. He had dark brown hair and blue eyes.
Well, the agent gave a clear description, so it had to be him.
I wasn't sure on what they were going to do to me. Whatever it was, I felt that I had to cooperate. If I didn't, something terrible might happen to Sonic. Maybe I had been watching too many action movies lately, but I figured they'd run worse tests on my friend if I didn't follow orders. Next thing I knew, I was grabbed. I felt a needle enter my arm, injecting me with something. Soon I felt numb all over. I didn't like it. I was starting to relax without a care on where I was. The commander grabbed me once he could see whatever it was I was injected with was working. I thought this was it for me, being out of isolation, but no. He took me back to his office. I didn't dare to struggle at all. Next, I was being questioned, or more like lectured.
Enjoyed your time out of prison there? I see that you've made a friend. But let's get down to actual business here. I know you're thinking on destroying the planet. Gerald talked about it before he was executed. He planned on having you gain revenge by destroying everything on this planet. Even though it was your fault the Ark was raided, it's your fault a child died.
Sure, I often think of Gerald as a good guy, but to be honest here, he wanted to destroy me in the past. I was pretty much a failure. The cure he planned on making me into didn't work out. It was because of Maria that I was still around today. After the raid, Gerald didn't come for me. He was stuck with Gunn and he probably came up with a lie. And now this guy still believes in that false promise. Gerald was the one who gave me a fear of needles along with labs, even though I had been created in a lab. He became spiteful towards me unless his granddaughter was around. Gerald sent me through a bunch of procedures trying to find a cure for Maria's NIDS, but my body refused the medical injections. He also grew enraged by his failures. He often took it out on me, as in he'd beat me at times. Gerald showed no remorse, only when Maria was in the room, was when he'd act all emotional about my well-being. Maria didn't know about the stuff that went on. She was just glad to have a new friend. I never told her. I didn't want to since she loved Gerald so much. She didn't know about him causing me harm, as well since I can heal pretty quickly. Gerald would often run unnecessary experiments on me in hopes to alter my genetics in order to have me carry the cure. The raid, though, brought one good thing with it. I wouldn't have to be put back in a lab with Gerald again. But on the other hand, it was all downhill. I pretty much lost everything that day. You think I care about what my creator wants me to do? He abandoned me. He wasn't the one who released me from isolation. He didn't even care about me. His only priority was Maria. Sure, I want to think fondly of him, but there wasn't exactly a bond between us. I was more of a science experiment to him, a failed one at that. Just because he wants me to go off on a revenge spree doesn't mean I want to go down that route. I doubt Gerald went off to search for me after I crashed on this planet alone. If what you say is true about him being executed, well, that would be a miracle in my book. I don't have to deal with him running procedures on me again, at least. I just watched the commander shake his head in disbelief. It was as if almost, though my words didn't faze him, but everything I said was true. The only one on the Ark that treated me more like a son was probably Black Doom, though I don't remember him much, but he did appear some of the time on the Ark to help Gerald with some stuff. One time he protected me from Gerald's wrath. I was almost being mercilessly. He got mad about another failed test that day. Do let me hide behind him. Okay, I ran behind him after a couple of hits from Gerald. Yep, I ran out of the lab and down the hall, and Doom just happened to be there. I don't remember what happened after that, though.
I know you, Shadow. You were always evil. Just because you've been staying low for now doesn't mean you won't go off on a rampage built off revenge.
I felt that there was no talking this guy out of it. He had his mind set on me taking revenge for something that happened so many years ago. Sure, I still had a bit of a grudge on whoever had killed Maria. She didn't deserve it. But she wouldn't want me to go off and get revenge. She'd want me to live the life I wanted, even if she wasn't beside me. Gerald, sure, he'd want me to get revenge over his own loss. He lost Maria, the only one who mattered the most to him. I didn't matter to him. I was only kept around to be a cure, which was something I couldn't be. Maria saw me as a brother. She didn't see me as just some experiment. I was family to her. The last order I was given by Gerald was to get Maria to safety after the security system on the Ark had caught movement. Now that I think about it, I think he wanted them to take me. He probably got in contact with someone and told them that one of his experiments had gone wrong and is a danger to society. He probably wanted me to get Maria to safety before Gunn found me. Gerald probably wanted me to be found but them alone, hoping I'd be the one that got killed in the raid. This made sense to me, in a way. But then there was the raid. The military got word about me. I was ordered to get Maria to safety while alarms were blaring. Maria was spying on me and Gerald when I found her. The door was open a crack just enough so she could see. I remember leaving the lab just as I had left 3 soldiers enter the lab behind me through the main entrance of the room. There were 2 entrances. Her grandfather was talking with these 3 soldiers when one of the soldiers noticed her peeking through the crack. That was when Maria turned and faced me before I took her by the hand as one of the soldiers called out to us. Gerald has sent me up all this time. I never knew the truth as to why the raid happened. He probably got sick of me being around and the failure after failure from trying to have me be this cure. He got so fed up that he decided to draw the line in hopes to continue trying making a cure without me there. He wasn't able to live with me anymore after his fails. He was done with me after the raid had ended, and Gunn got what they wanted. With Maria gone, he no longer needed to make a cure. He most likely gave up on everything. He was most likely taken to Gunn for questioning. No one knew of what actually went on the Ark. No one knew of the truth or the lies. Not even I did at the time. No idea why Gunn came after me, but it all makes sense now. I am now left to wonder on if betrayal and abandonment was something I'd have to deal with. I mean, will my newfound friends do that to me if they get tired of me? Would Tom and I just let me and Sonic be in this mess like Gerald had left me all those years ago? What about Rouge and Omega? I didn't like this one bit. My thoughts were put to the side when the commander spoke again.
Well, you did bite one of my agents.
He got up from his seat, then took out a rag from under the table and shoved it into my face. Then I blacked out.